What's up, everybody? Again, I know I'm probably going to sound like a broken record for a little while, but that's just kind of how this is going to go. Um, I always find it interesting that I always struggle to try and come up with a topic. Like, there's something I want to talk about, but is it talk about it to where we can kind of work through it, or is it just me complaining and crying about things? And I've realized that's kind of like a pretty minute line, and I wanted to talk about something this time, and I think it's pretty fitting, especially for the kinds of things that I'm into and things like that. And the thing that I always find interesting is, why is it always fans that ruin things for other people? And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Um, there was a TikTok that I came across a little while ago from Impound Comics. Great creator. I want to try and get his comic at one point. He's got 4 graphic novels that he created. So I'm like, oh shit, dude's like making comics. That's awesome. And there was a question that was proposed to where who would win in a random encounter between Batman and Daredevil. And it's the people that can't get past their own fandom that I think are really ruining a lot of people getting in. Um, the big thing when it comes to Batman is if Batman has prep time. And that's slowly kind of led into, well, that's just known as plot armor. Batman can just, as long as he has some contingency plan that he comes up with, then he'll be able to go ahead and save the stinking day. And that's just mainly because he doesn't have any superpowers. Um, but I thought it was interesting because while I don't like Daredevil, Daredevil is way down the list. He's not as far down as Namor, but he's down the list for me. Probably not in my top 20 as far as, well, if we're saying superheroes, not in my top 20s. If we're saying just comic book characters, he's not even in my top 50. And I think it's crazy that people will always argue about, well, Batman knows this and Batman knows that. And I'm going, do you understand that Daredevil has sort of a clairvoyancy going on when it comes to his his senses, so he can hear your muscles tense if you're going to throw a right punch, so it doesn't matter what martial arts you know, if he knows what's coming. And it's one of those things where it's like, you can have your fandom and you can say, while I'm a Batman fan, it's still this, instead of no, let me make up multiple excuses as far as why it is what it is. And it doesn't just go with comic books and shit like that. It goes to everything. Um, People who are a fan of a certain author or a certain movie series or whatever are always going to Teflon um, criticism. You can't tell me my um uh my fandom is not always right. And yes, I can. Because from that same mindset is the reason why things like flat earth are here and there's so much hatred that is just billowing, is because people just can't go, no, okay. Like for example, or for another example, this debate that keeps going around, and I don't understand how it's a debate, But the debate goes around for why LeBron is the greatest basketball player of all time over Jordan or over Kobe or even over Shaq. And I'm going, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Wilt Chamberlain or Jerry West or Larry Bird or Bill Parrish, like Pete Maravich. Come on now. Like, there's a ton of people that have played that deserve their spotlight. Now, if the argument was he's the greatest point scorer, then that would be true, but it took him 21 years to do it. Dude came straight from high school into the NBA and has been there ever since. And he acts like someone who was in the NBA for 20-something years because he didn't have any time to mature. Last I saw, 3 championships in a row, took 2 years off to go play baseball, then came back and won 3 more. You tell me anybody that's done that in any sport ever. Your argument's done right there. There's just period. There's just absolutely no way in hell you can tell me that LeBron is on the same page if he could take 2 years off after winning 3 championships and come back and win 3 more. So he wins 6 in a row. And the amount of times that I've seen LeBron just crying to the refs about basically give me my way. And how many times Jordan would just go, okay, I'll beat him another way. It goes on to that sense to where you kind of lose this touch of reality to have a sense of, well, I want my person to win or I want my way to be right. Well, let's stop acting 6 and start paying attention to what's actually going on, because as it stands, you can't really... Things are going to get worse if you just can't admit that this one little thing is wrong. And I know accountability is something that a lot of people don't like trying to take up for right now. And to a sense, I get it, but to another sense, I'm going, there's nothing wrong with being a super fan of something. There's nothing wrong with trying to sit there and show it to other people, but you kind of have to know how to work it. I've seen videos where they're trying to introduce people to heavy metal, and they're starting with Infant Annihilator, and I'm going, you're starting where? Bruh, start with Godsmack. I stand alone. It's a great song, has a great rhythm to it. Starting with that. You can't jump them into Max Cavalera and old school Sepultura. No. That's not there yet. That isn't something that can be done yet. It's kind of like there's these games that we play. I think it's Social Identity or Hidden Identity or some shit like that, where if you've ever heard of the Resistance, you have people that are on the Resistance side, and then you have spies that are trying to ruin it. And the way that you play that is it's just pretty much just that. Spies try to sabotage shit. Resistance tries to keep on pushing forward. And I've always called that the grade school level. And for a while, that's all we had until a game called Secret Hitler. And Secret Hitler adds in other things. And I said, you have grade school level, then you have high school. Oh. And if you want to go even farther beyond that, you have Werewolf. And that's graduate level. And it's steps. you take someone through resistance, so they kind of get just the base premise of how everyone is a bunch of fucking liars, and everyone is just sitting on this sense of, this is how this is going, this is how this is going, and this is what is next. This is how you do this. I have learned in those games that I'm great at playing my role. I am terrible at figuring out anybody else's. I'm not good at that part, but I'm good at playing a fucking role. And more often than not, if I'm on the bad guy side, I will slowly let it eke out that I'm on the bad guy side, just to help hide my partners. So I'd go, yeah, no, I'm a bad guy, and I will tell you this: that person is not my partner. And then they'll see that after it goes through that, oh shit, he was right, that wasn't his partner. So then whenever they do call out my partner, I have a greater chance of them actually believing me, of going, no, remember, bad guy here, that's not my partner. And it's just kind of my role in that. And I've accepted that that's just how that goes. I am terrible at picking up on things. I'm terrible um, at trying to pretend that I can guess who's full of shit and who isn't. But it's levels, and you can't throw someone who is used to listening to like country and pop and um, shit like that, like EDM and stuff, and then go, well, I've always heard that there's good music in metal. I'm like, okay, let's start you off. I mean, I I know how this sounds, but I would almost start with like "Nothing Else Matters" by Metallica and go, "This is Metallica." Like, all right, you subvert those expectations, you bring them down some, so they're going to be a little bit more open to what's coming up above. I mean, you don't start off with "Bleed" by Meshuggah and just go, "You're good." I mean, that's not how that works. Same thing kind of goes with any fandoms of any kind. Um, like I've had talks with Nabi about Stephen King, about when I was a kid. I used to read his shit all the time. And while I don't remember much of it, I remember enjoying reading Salem's Lot so much. I was about halfway through the book, and I was at a friend's house. And, or no, that was when I was down at Silver Dollar City. Like, we're going to go get something to eat. I'm like, I'm good. I got to finish this book. And I didn't eat that day because I was just wanting to really finish that book. But at the same time, there's times where I feel like Stephen King has too much filler shit. There's too many things that are in there for what purpose? Just to add some extra flavor for something. You know, it's like that extra little pinch of pepper that no one's going to taste, but you feel better that it's there. You know, shit like that. And I feel that's where a lot of his stuff really kind of goes through the ringer for a lot of people is, you know, he gets into those extra big descriptions and stuff. So even in my own writing, I've tried to incorporate that as well. Try to get out of the mindset of this is extra filler shit and I don't like it. But there are tons of people that do, because Stephen King's books just go through the roof whenever it comes to any type of book being sold. So it's one of those to where it truly will push people away if you go, well, no, you just have to accept the fact that, you know, that's just what he does, and this, he does this because of this, and it's just, you know, you're just really not a Stephen King fan if you just really can't wrap your mind around it. I don't understand why you would think that way. And remember the term that came around the last couple of years called gatekeeping. So it's like, you can't come in here if you don't feel the same way that I do. And that's what I was like, we have far too many times where there are fans of things that will ruin that thing for anybody else coming along. One thing I can remember and I tried to give it a shot. I'm just going, this is dumb. I don't like it at all. Was Rick and Morty. Couldn't stand it. And I've had some people go, don't tell me it was the burping. It was the burping. It was excessive. You have to understand that there's comedic timing for things. You have to understand there's timing for everything. There's tact. And that shows, and then we just, and if I were to do this every time I do a video, how many times you guys going to keep watching my, if I do this all the time? You're not. You're not. I'm sorry, I'm not 4. Burps aren't that goddamn funny. And to have a character who is just consistently just in a burp factory, I went, I don't get it. I don't get why this went so well. And there was so many people saying, oh, well, if you don't like Rick and Morty, then you're just someone who lacks intelligence, because Rick and Morty is made for people with intelligence, and that's how you're really going to understand whether or not Rick and Morty is a good show, because if you're just stupid, you're just not going to get it. It's a psychotic grandpa who tortures his grandson and is a raging alcoholic. You're that far off of being Peter Griffin. At least in the early years. So, now what? And that's why I've always loved it when people are like, so, I know you're into comic books, so what would you recommend? What do you like? What don't you like? I had a scenario a couple months ago where one of the guys I played D&D with was sharing with me that, you know, there's a bunch of comics that he's wanted to read and things like that, which I keep forgetting that I have this damn thing because it's supposed to have the entire run of The Boys on it. And I've always wanted to read it. I started reading it, but then it just kind of fell off. I'm like, meh. And I said, okay, well, let's do a comic swap. I'll bring Invincible as long as you're okay with superheroes. He was like, oh, yeah, it's fine. He gave me Preacher, and I got partway through the first trade, and I'm just going, not feeling it. And there are times where I will give something a shot, and I've had other people, you know, gatekeep me or gaslight, however, whatever the fuck one it is. And I'm just going, this is kind of trash. Well, you didn't beat it yet, or you didn't finish it, so how can you say it's trash? There's a little thing called a sunk cost fallacy, meaning that you started this, you don't really enjoy it, but you're going to keep doing it until it gets better. And I've learned that if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to. It's just like I've had people try to tell me that some Ben Stiller or Matthew Broderick or Will Ferrell movies are great that are not part of their normal stuff. And I've hated every one of them. I've given them a chance. And yeah, I was a little too critical on some of them. But I'm just there going, I know I don't like this. I know if you can't grab me early, then I'm done. Like I was told a couple times that The Eternals was a great movie. Yeah, I stopped like 10 minutes in. I'm like, there's just this wall of text, and I'm going, what the hell is happening? And I just went, fuck it, I don't care. And I turned it off and don't give a damn to turn it back on again. Nope. The thing that people have to realize is that if you are a good writer for something and you are doing a good presentation, everything else takes care of itself. If you can't get someone hooked on your shit within the first X amount of time frame for a video game, I say you got 4 hours. You got 4 hours to get someone tagged in on it before they're just going, no. Because it's exactly what I've played in this God of War that I was like, this is fantastic. It's very positive um, on Steam instead of overwhelming, but the overall is overwhelming. And I just kind of go, you're like, oh, it's such a great story. I'm like, great story? Great story? Are you kidding me? I have no idea what the hell's going on. And I don't care about any of this shit. I go, why is it that God of War always seems like a game that is just the god of puzzle solving? For a game that's supposed to be a god of war, and then there's so many times where he wants to sit there and try and comfort his son, and he's just like, I'm going to touch the boy on his back. No, he needs to be a man. I'm not going to touch him. In utter silence, and I'm going, and it just it sucked. It sucked, and I bowed out. And I've had so many people that just sit there like, oh well, you claimed it to be like this, but you only gave this game so much. Well, yeah, and Elden Ring sucks. It's the same thing From Software's done every time. Every time. Period. You can't tell me that they haven't done the same thing with every fucking game, because they have. What about Bloodborne? Same thing with guns. What about Sekiro? Same thing with samurai. It's the same thing. It's always the same thing. They're caught in a rut, and it's basically become something akin to Call of Duty, to where you just have the same damn thing, but we're gonna do it just slightly different, and everybody's gonna keep buying it because you're just addicted to it. They're not wrong. It's just I can if I can see it, then it's too much, because I'm not the type of person that will sit there and um go watch a movie and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm trying to figure out who done it. I'm along for the ride, because I think if you're trying to look ahead, you're not really enjoying the experience of what's going on at that moment. And so I don't look ahead. I sit there and enjoy it until was it Rise of Skywalker? I didn't have high hopes for it, because they really botched the sequel trilogy. Um, but I had an expectation, because Force Awakens was such a fantastic cinematic viewing experience versus the three prequels. They were just boring, and anytime that there was action, it was just so quick. You're going, ah. All right. Now we got to talk about trade blockades and trade federations, and this is just dumb as hell. Like, it was just beyond stupid. And so Force Awakens was just it was refreshing. It was nice to see that, someone not only deflected a blaster bolt but held it there and let it sit there and did all this. I'm going, that was fucking cool. And then it was just going, let's just have cool moments and not have an overall story arc that makes sense. This is exactly what happened. And I I always thought it was funny that people will sit there and tell you, well, you have to give it a chance. Well, I did. And it was terrible. I can remember when Elden Ring came out. It was on Discord with Obi Jeff, and I said, "You're not doing this technique." He goes, "What?" He goes, "You're not doing this technique." He goes, "What are you talking about?" And I told him. He goes, "How do you know this? Do you have this game?" I said, "No, I'll never play this game." He goes, "And how do you know it?" I'm going, "It's the same thing in every single one of their games, in all of them. All of them are the exact same. Period." And when I could sit there and watch someone play a game that they are playing for the first time, that I'm seeing for the first time, and I can coach you through it, you done messed up, Ron. That's just all there is to it. It's not something to where it's a good game if someone who's played other titles can come in and tell you how to play it, and it's supposed to be this whole new experience. No. No. Nope. Don't think so. And it again goes to where you almost have to wonder, and I'm about to go a little off the rails here for a moment, so bear with me. You almost have to wonder, is this what it's like when you get rid of bullying? That you just let stupid people and entitled people and super fans and delusional people just get away with whatever the fuck they want to get away with? Is that what happens? Because that's what it kind of seems like. I can remember in 5th, 6th grade, I was being bullied for still liking Transformers and Ninja Turtles and He-Man and G.I. Joe, especially G.I. Joe. And there was just a point where I'm going, isn't that what I'm supposed to like right now? You should be a man. I still sound like I'm a 6-year-old girl. Like my voice hasn't gotten into that deep tones yet. I remember being in 8th grade and answering the house phone. Some of you might not even know that was a thing, but it still is. And some people have kind of asked for it, like, why isn't there just one phone that anybody can answer? You mean the kitchen phone? Or the living room phone? Well, there you go. Anyway, I would answer the phone and like, hi, little girl, is your mommy home? Like, I'm a boy. Click. Like, I was a smart ass even then. I'm like, I'm a boy. Fuck you. And it wasn't until going into high school that my voice finally started to drop. And I'm going, I got teased for it. I got bullied for it. It's not like I can go now and be like, hey, ladies. You know, people are immune to that shit now. And I didn't realize that it was still sort of a factor, if you will, until I went out to Detroit one time, staying with a friend of mine, and his daughter was there, and just talking like I'm talking now, and didn't realize that she was kind of terrified of me. Like, why is she terrified? I'm like, what have I done? He goes, I think it's your deep voice. I'm going, what? My voice is deep? I'm like, if you have average, I might be about here, but it's not like I'm Barry White levels. And it dawned on me at that point, because he would be kind of like at this level, and that's just where he was, and I'd be at this level. But I'm going, it's still a man's voice, so I don't get it. But I'm going, to a 6-year-old, kind of makes sense. I don't know where I was going with that. Kind of lost that train of thought. Oh yeah. But that was, sort of a growing experience, and it's something that I I look at, just kind of go, a lot of these kids that are 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way up to like 22, 23, are that age, but I'm going, y'all don't look it. Y'all don't act it. You still act like 13. So I'm confused. Like I can remember when I got in my car, like, oh, you need me to come over? You just go driving. Now you're like, gas is too expensive. I'm just going to keep my ass here. I'm good. And things of that nature, to where I'm just kind of going, how has it gotten from you can't, you got to tell people, look, people are going to think differently than you. That's just how that goes. And now we're at the level of, well, you need to respect. No, I don't. Just just like I don't respect someone who's trying to help someone get into heavy metal of starting them off with Infant Annihilator. Not gonna work. I will lambast the hell out of that person for the rest of my days. Going, oh yeah, well, what about that time you're trying to help Becky enjoy metal and you start off with Infinite Annihilator? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like I said, Godsmack, start them off there. That I think is like probably the perfect place to start, because you start getting them in anyway. I hate cyclical talking. Yes, yet I keep freaking doing it. But that would be a better way to start. Of let's have them start small and see, do you like this? No? All right. Well, maybe we go from Godsmack to like Alice in Chains. Have them listen to Them Bones. No? Like, oh, well, let me also show you that Alice in Chains has songs like Nutshell, or Don't Follow, or Swing on This. Like, oh, so Alice in Chains is kind of diverse. Yeah. So you build them for it. You build them towards it, instead of just throw them into the fucking ocean with some water wings and off they go. No, if you are someone who truly cares about a specific genre of entertainment, you should know how to start them off small. Prime example, and this will be my last example. I always wanted to be able to draw. And as far as still life, I know I can do that pretty well. But when it comes to trying to come up with something off the top of my head, or, draw the comics that I read, can't fucking do it. I cannot. It's something beyond what I can do. And taking the drawing class, I learned that. And starting that class, it was, let's teach you how to properly hold your drawing utensils so you can draw correctly. And it was, hold it light, and you're just going to do large strokes to complete drawing a square. Going to a drawing class, and it was, let's teach you how to hold something and draw a fucking box. There's your introductions. They're starting off small. Because if you would have taken some of the stuff that he had done and go, this is what we're going to work on, you'd have people walking out going, there's no way. But you start them off with drawing a box. Start off with drawing a square. And teaching them how you want to try and keep a natural movement and a positioning so you can keep consistency. Same damn principle. Same damn one. All you gotta do is just sit there and go, hey, start off small. Because when you drive to the beach, you still have land to stand on as you slowly walk into the ocean. Even if you go down a pier, you're still walking on something before you jump off into it. You know, where you're going, what you're getting into. Same thing when it comes to something new. I have all of this ocean of knowledge that I want to share with you. But you got to start walking in and get your feet wet first. That's the reason why that saying sticks around. So, yeah. Probably should have said it at the beginning of the video, but Happy New Year. Let's have 25 be better than 24. And yeah, cut this one slightly short. Try to go on less tangents or really going way out into left field and then coming back in again. but you're listening to me, so that's just how that's gonna end up going. But yeah, y'all stay safe, and hope you're well, and I'll see you in a week. Take care.